All right, I've already received a couple texts about this. So let's do this conduit layout here. I've already done these and for it's acting weird. So the only one it would let me open is this one here. So let's look at it. Um this isn't as hard as what I think everybody's making it, but I think what's happening is that let me make this pen a little smaller. This looks too big. I think everybody is seeing this center line right here and they're centering their conduits off that, and you can't do that, right? They want all these conduits centered on top of this panel, which means we need to find the outside to outside measurement, right? We need to add up these five conduits, add up the spaces in between, find that overall measurement, and then center that on the panel. So let's see what we got here, and we'll give it a shot. So it's saying we got a 3.5 inch EMT, an inch and a half, inch and a quarter, and two 1 inchers. So I'm sure you guys know this, but just in case you don't, for a 3.5 inch conduit, you can't drill a 3.5 inch hole or knock out a 3 inch hole or a 3.5 inch hole. You got to make them bigger, right? You got to be able to fit the connector in there, right? So they give us the numbers they want us to use, which are right here, and you can see that for a 1/2 inch conduit, it's 7/8, 3/4, inch and an eighth, 1 inch, 1 3/8, inch and a quarter. They want to go 1 3/4. And then this is where they lose me. I mean, you have to use these numbers to lay this out, but I just want to let you know that if you are in the field and you have to knock out a hole for a inch and a half conduit and you find the 2 inch knockout and you knock it out using a 2 inch hole, uh, you're not going to have a good day, right? So the rule of thumb is, at least in the field, for this you got to use these numbers, but I want you guys to know this. In the field, what I have found anyways, is right here, right at inch and a half and 2 inch. Anything less than this, you take the trade size, so take a 1/2 inch, and you're going to just add 3/8 of an inch to it. So 1/2 inch plus 3/8 is going to be 7/8, and that's what they have, right? But that inch and a half hole, that's going to be a 1 7/8, and that's the size you want to drill, and that you're going to have plenty of room there, right? Um, and then after you get past that inch and a half, 2 inch and above, all you're going to do is you're going to add a 1/2 inch to the trade size, and that's what they do here. So you got a 2 inch, you got a 2.5 inch, 3 inch conduit. You're drilling a 3.5 inch hole, and that's right. I like that. But those small ones there, maybe I've been doing it wrong all this time, but that has been my experience in the field. So let's see what we got. First thing we got to do is we got to add up. We have to find our total width of all those conduits put together. So what we're going to do is this has got to be a 4 inch hole. This one here is going to be a 2 inch hole. This one here is going to be a 1 3/4 inch hole. This one right here is an inch and 3/8, and this one here is a 1 3/8. So let's add that up right here. So we got 4 plus 2 plus 1 3/4 plus 1 3/8 plus 1 3/8. And now look at they want inch and a half between each conduit, right? And how many gaps do we got here? We got 1 2 3 4 gaps. So we'll do parentheses, 4 gaps, and inch and a half. And then let's type that all in. I'm just getting over a cold right now, so actually I still feel like crap if I'm to be honest. But I'm getting 16 and a half. All right, and it says we have a 24-inch wide panel, so let's take 24 inches and let's subtract 16 and a half. And I can even do that one. That is a 7 and a half. And now that's the overall width of the panel that we're going to have once our conduits are in there. They want it centered, so we're going to have to divide this by 2, and that is going to be 3 1/4. No, that's going to be 3 3/4. Sorry, almost made this whole thing wrong. So 3 3/4 inches on each side of the panel. All right, so there's our math there. So to get this line here, let me make this pen a little smaller even. All right, so to get this line here from the edge of the panel, we are going to have to go our 3 3/4, and that gets us right to this edge here. And now we got to add 2 to get us to the center of the hole. So 3 3/4 plus 2 is 5 3/4. All right. So now we have to find the center of that 4-inch conduit to the center of the 2-inch conduit. And that math is going to be, let me just get rid of this here. That way I got some room to write. I'll erase that too. So we are going to do 2 inches, right? Half of 4 is 2, plus the 1.5-inch gap, and then plus half of 2, which is 1. And that is going to equal, what is that? 5.5. So 5.5 2 5 plus 1. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not 5.5. It's 4.5. So 4.5 plus 5 3/4 is going to be 10 1/4. So this one right here, 10 1/4. All right, so now let's go off that center and find this one here. So 1 inch to get outside here, 1.5 inch space, and then half of 1 3/4, which is 7/8. So let's write that down. 1 plus 1.5 plus 7/8. So 1 plus 1.5 plus 0.875. 3 3/8. And now we're going to add 10 1/4. And we are getting 13 5/8. So the center of this hole here, 13.625. Yeah, 5/8. Awesome. All right, so now we got to get outside here. So we got 7/8 plus 1.5 inches. Half of 1 3/8 is 11/16. So let's write that down. We have 7/8 plus 1.5 inches plus 11/16. Let's see what that is. 7/8 plus 1 1/2 plus 11/16. That is 3 1/16. This equals 3 1/16. And now let's add that to our 13 5/8. And I am getting 16 11/16. All right, so now let's see here. So we have 2 3/8 holes. So that is nice, right? Because we have to find this edge. We have to get to this edge here, and we have to get to the center. So instead of just doing half of 1 3/8 and half of 1 3/8, let's just do 1 3/8 plus 1.5 inches. So 1 3/8 plus 1.5 inches. And let's see what that is. 1 3/8 plus 1 1/2. That's going to equal 2 7/8. Now let's add that to the 16 11/16. And that gets us 19 9/16. Oops. There we go. 19 9/16. Okay, so that is our layout. If we hook that tape measure on this panel and you mark all those there, that will give you the center line from left to right. Now we need to figure out what it is, the distance from the back. And I find it interesting that they call it Kindorf. I have never heard it called Kindorf before. Maybe in our area they don't, or in other areas they call it that. But this is just a piece of 1 5/8 strut. All right. So to find the center of this one, let me use a different color. Let me use, maybe this yellow will stick out. So we need to find, ooh, dang, that's big. Make that a little smaller there. All right. Erase that thing. Go away. Oh, it's not going to happen. We're stuck with the big blob right there. I think. Yeah, I'm giving up. Giving up. So we need to find the center of this 4-incher here. So that is going to be 1 5/8 plus half of 4, which is 2. And that is a really easy number to figure out. 3 5/8. So to the center from the back of the from the back of the panel to the center of the conduit for this one's going to be 3 5/8. For this one here, we have a 1 5/8 strut, and then half of 2 is 1. And I can do that math too. That is going to be 2 5/8 for the center of this one. And then this one right here, 1 3/4. So half of 1 3/4 is going to be 7/8. So 1 5/8 plus 7/8. What is that? 2.5. So this one here is going to be 2.5 inches. I'll circle that one because it's getting a little crowded. And then both of these are the same size. So we have 1 5/8. And now we got to add half of 1 3/8, which is 11/16. And let me add that up because I'll mess that one up if I don't do it. So 1 5/8 plus 11/16. And that is going to get us 2 5/16. Oops. 2 5/16 on this one. And that should do it. If I recall right, you can't have any extra marks on your panel. And I don't think that you can, there was something weird, like you can't erase it or something. So it's not going to let me go. Well, let me see. Maybe it will. Let me see if it will still let me record and go here and do it, because I'll do it real quick. Let's do it. I think it looks like I'm going to do it. All right, so our first number was 5 3/4. So right there, our second number was 10 1/4. Third number was 13 5/8. Second number was 16 11/16. 11/16 is just shy of 3/4. And then our last number was 19 9/16. So that's a heavy half. That's our 5 conduits. All right, so now let's rotate it this way. We'll drag this dude over. That 4-incher off the back was 3 5/8. The second one, 2 5/8. It sounds like my wife and son are home. I better finish up before they make a bunch of noise when they walk in. All right, 2.5. Yeah, they're here. And then these last two are 2 5/16. All right, let's see what we got here. So the first two were 1-inch KOs. Boom. Boom. The next one was what was that? 1 1/4 inch? The next one was 1.5 inches. And the last one was a 3.5. Congratulations. Like I said, give this a shot, right? We do this in the field quite a bit. You'll get it. I know people are just probably using that center line. So that's it. I am going to close this. Everybody's about ready to walk in the door, and this is perfect timing. Don't let this kill you. Just do one. If you can't do it, we'll figure it out. We'll do another one. I'll see you.